This is TWiT.
There's also a larger issue with the App Store, which is it's become unmanageable. That there's not enough people Apple could hire to do a good job with the App Store.
They make mistakes, and they don't deliver on the promise of the App Store. And that's a separate, but I would argue much worse, much bigger issue.
Yeah,
for them
malware
right
sneaking in. Recently, Zach Wood, who's a developer for something called Addicts, got kicked out of the App Store and the developer program, not for anything he did, but because his app had been copied many, many times by other people, third parties, and so Apple accused him of manipulative or misleading behavior. They couldn't figure out that he was the one injured. It wasn't him doing it. Fortunately, his appeal succeeded, but I think that this is demonstrative of the issue when you have thousands and thousands. How many? Do we know how many apps a day are submitted to Apple? It's got to be a huge number. Lory, is there any number, any figure for that?
No, I've never heard anybody talk about how many apps are submitted each day. But yeah, it's got to be in the thousands or tens of thousands.
And do we know how many people Apple employs to review these, and what kind of training they get, and who they are, where they come from?
We don't have any of that information.
Yeah,
and we don't have any of that detail, but that's clearly where the choking point is. You know, when you hear developers talk about things that are wrong, it has to do with communication at that level. So, you know, what you're having issue with is reviewers, Apple's reviewers of apps, either getting it wrong or just not communicating quickly enough with the developers. They're overburdened. They're doing a lot, and so when a mistake happens from Apple's perspective, they just, oops, we made a mistake, we're fixing it, you're back to normal. But from the developer's perspective, that could be hundreds or thousands of dollars in revenue that they lost during that time period where things, went wrong. And depending on like how bad the error message is coming back to it, it could be detrimental to their reputation too. I can't remember who it was, but a few weeks ago, it was an app developer whose app was pulled. And when you tried to download the app, Andy, I think you were the one that pointed it out to us, you got a notification that said this app might be malicious. Yeah. So that ruins the reputation of the developer, and Apple doesn't do anything to compensate for that. They just say, oops, and then turn it all back on, So there's definitely a huge issue with there not being enough people. I don't think it's that they're not being trained well. I think it's just that there's not enough people to cover thousands and thousands of brand new app submittals and app updates that come through the App Store every day.
According to Statista, per month, it's about 39,500 mobile apps every month released. That's released. Doesn't mention how many are blocked. So it's more than
50 to 100 a day.
Yeah.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. So
per person. Each person is expected to do 50 to 100 a day.
That's, wow, you can't reasonably be expected to look. You're reviewing them for malware. You're reviewing them for failure to adhere to Apple's rules with the App Store. This is a lot to look at. And they don't get source code, right? They just get the binary. They've got to figure all of this out. I'm sure they have tools to do it, but this is definitely problematic. And then you get things like the WordPress thing, which Apple eventually apologized for. Andy,
yeah, exactly. They had a problem where the WordPress is it's kind of a weird app because it is an open source free platform for blogging. The app that they distribute is an open source free app for posting to your WordPress blog. And there was a big either A, misunderstanding, or B, a demonstration of the problems of the bureaucracy of the App Store, where suddenly they were the company that makes that app, was told that, hey, we are not going to allow you to post any updates or bug fixes to this app unless you allow in-app purchases of your domain and web hosting product. And they said, well, what are you talking about? We don't have. This has nothing to do with this side business. There's a side business. There's also There's WordPress.org, which is the free stuff. There's WordPress.com, where if you don't have a web host, they will help you. They will provide you with web hosting. And they said, well, look, it doesn't make any sense for us. It doesn't make any sense for the users of this app to be given in-app purchases. And Apple essentially went back and said, well, tough. You're going to have to add this as an in-app purchase that you don't think you need, so that we can collect 30% of it. And went back and forth until. This is the frustrating problem, I think, when Apple is dealing with App Store regulations. They said that because somewhere inside the app there was mention of, oh, by the way, if you need a domain, you can go to our website and go get it. So, oh, well, see, that violated the policy. And as soon as WordPress made its app comply with our policies, we were more than happy to restore them to the App Store. And this is, to me, this is the big problem that we're talking about. There are two problems here. One of them is that it's such a huge bureaucracy at that point, largely because of scale, but they can't simply say that that's that isn't a problem that Apple is capable of solving. But the problem is that they often come across like when the power company sends you a bill for $0.00. And so you don't pay it, and then they turn off your electricity, and they say, hey, why is my electricity turned off? I don't know any money. And then instead of saying, oh, you're right, we screwed up, we shouldn't have done that, here's your power back, and here's a credit for the time, they will say, well, I'm sorry, but we've opened a proper investigation into this. We sent you a bill for $0.00. You failed to pay that bill for $0.00. Therefore, we were absolutely correct in turning off your electricity. We are now closing your customer service case. And this is an example of that sort of thing happening.